So you grew up here in Pearl City, right?
Yes. My family moved to Pearl City in the first increment above Kamehameha Highway. So, growing up, Moana Loa Road was Cane Hall Road. I mean, that's how we were in the very first increment. And so it was really small community. All of this was all sugarcane when I was growing up. At least up until the point now they were building the subdivisions and it was expanding. But Moana Loa Road was a cane haul road.
When you were a teenager growing up in Pearl City, did you go, oh, I'd rather live Honolulu, or did you like it?
I liked it being out here, but that's when Pearl City was still country, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we were country and townies was townies, that
really?
kind of stuff. But it was good. It was simpler time.
You grew up with how many brothers do you have?
I have 5 brothers, so 6 boys. Yeah, in a 3-bedroom house. So we actually had 2 sets of bunk beds plus another bed in each bedroom because had 3 of us per room. It was a challenge. We were all glad when my oldest brother went to college because there was one less body in the house. But it was fun, It was at that time, on our street growing up, there probably was 30 kids in the span of 10 or 12 houses, right? My neighbors had 5 kids. We had 6 kids, across the street 2 kids, and all different families, right? I mean, Filipino, Japanese, Portuguese, all the different ethnic groups. It was a fun time.
It's funny how you don't see the big families anymore. Same with us, 6 kids.
Yeah.
And it was challenging. That's the word we use nowadays. Back then was poor.
yeah. I didn't want to say we were poor, but yeah, it was challenging.
Yeah. How did you get involved with tennis? I heard you did pretty well.
Yeah. Well, as you know, baseball is big in Pearl City. Has always been.
And
right?
band.
And band. But when the Pearl City High School opened, we were the first class. So my freshman year was only freshmen, so different, right?
Yeah.
You're the freshman class, but you run the school. Athletics didn't start till the second year that the school was open. So my freshman year, I went out. They had kind of an intramural, because we only had freshmen. They had an intramural team, and they would scrimmage with, Aiea, Pearl City, Waipahu, that kind of stuff. And I was on the team but had like 40 kids. And then the next year was the real tryouts. So I went to tryouts, had 60 kids in the room. I knew I wasn't one of the best for 45. So, and then on the same day in the cafeteria, they had a sign for tennis team. They didn't have anybody there. So I figured I never played before, but I knew I wasn't going to make the baseball team. Yeah. So we all went out, and it was so funny. My first tennis racket we got from Times. Times used to have those stamps. You collect the stamps?
Yeah, sure.
Free racket. You collect the stamps. We went out. We turn them in. We got our rackets. Free racket.
You were class president.
Yes.
Okay, in your senior year, was it?
Senior year.
Was this when the idea of doing public service, or were you just trying to meet girls?
It was. It never really was about public service per se, but there's only a handful of students that can be part of opening a brand new school. I mean, my freshman year we opened Pearl City High School. There's no mascot. You have an election for mascot. You have election for school colors. Wow. You start with a clean slate. So it is a very unique opportunity, I think, and we were all involved with it. So you had to be part of public service in terms of creating the school, creating the identity. But we never really thought about it as public service. It was like part of building the school, part of being the school.
I mean, but a lot of people can be involved in that and not want to be the president.
Yes, that's true.
Is that something inherent to your personality?
I was involved with student government from the very beginning. Yeah, I was kind of a quiet guy for the most part, but at Highlands Intermediate, it was how do you get involved with the school? The best thing is to be part of the committees. I actually ran for 7th grade officer and I lost. And my 7th grade advisor, right after the loss, and when you're in middle school or elementary school, then you think you're gonna win, and then boom, you hit that wall. Oh, I lost.
As a politician today, have you ever gone back and thought about that campaign and what you could have done better?
Always.
Do you?
You know,
What
I have been fortunate in that I've never lost a campaign, but
Yeah.
you know, you're seventh grade, you're kind of trying to figure out what you want to do. You run for office, you know, you think you're successful, you're gonna win the election, and boom, you get blown away.
What did you do wrong?
Well, I was too quiet. For one, I wasn't the most attractive guy. I was kind of heavier than I am now. It was one of those things, and I was very academic. But it's not always about the smartest guy. It's about popularity, right? So the good news for me is that my student advisor, and she kind of took me on the side and said, there's more to student government than just the officers. We have committees, and you can chair committees and all of that. And so I obviously went from being devastated by my first loss to getting engaged and finding some other way to stay involved.
So let me say this. It's interesting how you realized in 7th grade that it's more than the smartest guy, it's more than the academia,
Yeah.
And today, more than ever, it becomes how good you look in a soundbite.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, that's what, and I guess all of my supporters, I give them credit for hanging with me, because I'm not the greatest guy with a soundbite, and for all of my time in office, I really believed it's more about doing good than looking good, and so inside the campaign, everybody gets all bent out of shape because I'm not real good about trying to.
But you know what? And it could be the local thing. I mean, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a combination of the the Japanese heritage and
Yes.
and the local taciturnity, the kind of bro, I'm just gonna make them with my actions more than my mouth.
Yes. My father was a steel worker. He did during the war volunteer to be part of the 100th Battalion. It was one of those that he snuck out because he didn't want to tell his mom for a while until it was like too far gone, so he couldn't. He was committed, but he was a very quiet man. He never said much. He really believed in leading by doing. By being walking the talk and
all the people that I've met, that generation,
yeah.
100th, 442, you ask them about the war, their experiences, they don't say nothing.
They don't say anything. My father never talked. I never really understood what that was, 100th 442, till way he was retired and out of work. He never talked about it. None of them talked about it.
Do you think you have any of that?
My father always believed that if you don't have anything good to say about somebody, you shouldn't say anything. And he talked about that a lot. So I don't. I mean, I'm very careful with what I say too.
But that's got to be difficult if you're running against someone and you need to point out their deficiencies.
Yeah, so that's been a challenge for me. I don't like if I. So we have focused. It is hard for me to talk about deficiencies, but I do know it's important in the campaign. Everywhere I go, they ask, so what would be different? So, I talk about what's different. I focus on facts and real experiences and interactions because I think that that's important. It has been a challenge for me.
Do you feel more local or do you feel more Japanese?
I feel definitely more local. Andy, growing up, it's all chop suey in every school that we go to.
Exactly.
I'm amazed that, I think the one difference in being from Hawaii,
Yeah.
is that ethnicity in our generation doesn't matter, because we had friends. It wasn't like in my parents' time where there was the Japanese camp and the Filipino
Yeah.
camp, and the plantations worked to separate the groups. And they wanted them to kind of compete with each other, and they treated them differently, so that they know that there was a difference, and if you played ball with them, then they would give you different benefits, to keep everybody in line.
Right.
But our generation, we're in the school, like I said, on my street, there was a Robelo, a Suji, a Talon, everybody, we living next to each other, we're in the same schools. I talk about people from Hawaii being kind of blind to ethnicity. I mean, we know that, we celebrate it, everybody sees value in retaining their roots, but recognizing that we're from Hawaii, and ethnicity really doesn't matter.
I describe it as, very little concern, but a lot of awareness.
Yes, yeah. I guess that would be a good way to put it.
We all know about the, Ozoni at New Year's and all that kind of stuff. But it's weird how, when you grow up here, did you ever get this feeling like, you're not Japanese enough?
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, and oftentimes you forget whether this is a Hawaii tradition or a Japanese tradition or Okinawan tradition or Filipino tradition.
Yeah.
It's funny. My daughter loves pancit.
Yeah.
The best noodle she, if we go to some place that has choices, she wants to eat pancit.
Yeah.
And that's good. It's not an issue.
Someone told me that you actually were accepted at MIT, but didn't say anything to your parents because you knew they wouldn't be able to afford it.
Yeah, it was a very different time, right? We had 6 boys in the family. I'm the 5th of 6.
Yeah.
I did apply, in those days. We did everything. I mean, my mom probably wasn't aware of all the schools that I was applying to, but I knew that it would be hard. It would be hard for my family to afford it. So I didn't even talk to them about it once I got accepted. I have a younger brother we're 18 months by age, but we're a year apart in school. So I knew that if I decided to go to mainland, he wouldn't have as many choices as he did.
But you're processing this at what, 15 years old?
16, 17,
Yeah, 16, 17. I mean,
well, my 2 oldest brothers went away to college, and my parents would not say anything about it, but you could see there's sacrifices to be made as part of that. My father was in the construction industry. When times are good, he's working 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. I mean, it's hard work, but it's good money. And then you hit a recession, and then, maybe you're working off and on, and you might get 4 days of work in, and then you're not working. So I mean, I've seen all of that. I've experienced all of that.
Please don't take this the wrong way, okay? And you're talking to a television guy. Okay, I watched your debate. You didn't seem as good on camera as Neil did. You know what I'm saying? I mean, speaking to you now and speaking to you in your kitchen, you're almost a completely different guy. It seemed like you were a little aware of the cameras, if that's a way to put it. So my question is, if I were him, I'd say, I'm better on camera than him. Let's do it more often.
Yeah. I mean, when we had talked about it in the campaign, I understood that it's a weakness of mine. I knew that he would look better on camera. I knew that he would speak better than I do. And I don't work on it as much as I should. I still get nervous. Yeah. I mean, I still get nervous before the debates. I still have to think about it.
What are you, crazy?
Well, and for me, I'm an engineer, so I think the other part of the challenge is that I need to be accurate. I cannot make things up. I don't feel comfortable making things up.
Oh, there's your problem.
Yeah, I know. So I can't fake it. Somebody asks me a question, I need to answer, and I need to answer correctly because I won't make it up.
How many people, and again, this is after watching your last debate, how many people said, David, you're too concise. Elaborate more. Neil gets a hold of a microphone. Oh my God, he just doesn't, you know what I mean? Which is how I would do it. I want you to just dominate it. My daughter said, wow, is like, he just says it and then doesn't say anymore. But I guess the question would be, is it possible to be completely real and still get elected?
Well, that's what we're going to find out, Andy, on August 9th. I believe it can. Yeah, you know, it's funny. I was going through all this training, people trying to help me speak better, and people trying to be the orator. And finally, after many sessions, they kind of went, I give up. And then my campaign core started saying, you know what, David, you just need to be yourself, because I guess no matter what I try and do, I cannot learn to not be me.